Hey guys, it's been a minute since I made one of these videos. Today I just want to walk you through Viventium again. There's a lot of cool, interesting stuff that I've added. So, um, we are going to start with the main interface. This is not that different. Last time I was covering this, you guys saw that there is a call option where you can go make a call. It's all self-hosted, so you can have full control over everything. It's all open source, so you can go on Viventium.ai and the GitHub is called Project Viventium, and check it out. And if you want to contribute to it, go for it. So I'm trying to make this more focused from the perspective of nature, whether that's neuroscience, psychology, or what feels more natural. And so instead of saying text to speech or speech to text, we all know that. Let's call it listening. We're trying to think in terms of more natural concepts so that what we're building is also more natural. For listening, the options that I really like when it comes to cost and accuracy and speed, Assembly AI is really good. At least so far, it's been serving me well. Whisper C++ has been their turbo version 3 large has been fantastic. So if you are someone who doesn't want to risk anything going up in the cloud, then the out-of-the-box Whisper C++ is the best option for you. I honestly use it more often than other options. For text-to-speech, my personal preference has been shifting. First, it was 11 Labs because for a long time they were leading the benchmarks for generating really natural voice, being able to clone voice. And then I had the chance to play with Grok from XAI, especially their character called Eve. I found it to have the warmest voice and the best range of emotions in its speech. But that was not available with API up until now. So the moment it became available with the APIs, I made it integrated in Viventium. And I want to give a big shout out, as I always do, to everyone who's put together their learnings, their open source projects that has been used in the repositories. I always give shout outs. Go check out these projects like LibreChat, LiveKit, and there's so much more. Cortices was also one of the lower cost text-to-speech models that I was using right before XAI. But as I tested more, when I'm comparing these three text-to-speech models, 11 Labs does really good, it's good quality, but the pricing is just not justified, especially with the new options that we have. It was not the best option for an AI that intends to be your second brain and to be always available when you need it. Cortices, much better cost. The quality was better than anything else I had tested. Chatterbox is the best open source option that I found that runs on the MacBook Air that I have with the compute that's available and works like a turbo text-to-speech real-time model. So the voice calls are natural. But XAI, guys, this one is the fastest, it's the cheapest, and of course, it gives you the option to clone voices. They have a really interesting voice cloning, voice authentication option that I have not seen with other model providers, which is actually good. Kudos to XAI to consider that. So you can, as I mentioned in the previous videos, it doesn't really matter, you don't need to watch those again. What metered here means is if you leave Viventium on 24/7, is it going to incur charges or not? I am a Mac user, so this whole repository has been built to work better with Mac. It should be able to run on other systems because most of the services are containerized. When you start a call here, I'm gonna go back to Assembly AI. Hey, you're on a live demo, say hi. What are you excited to share with the world?
Viventium, the second brain that actually moves with you.
Okay, so there are a few things here that, at least from what I've seen on the market, are novel. Not only we have that option to choose between a bunch of providers, and not only we are talking to the agents that are available here, and not only each agent has a whole league of subconscious, background agents that are simultaneously working together when it's their turn to be working, but also there's this concept that I'm trying to build. I started with wing mode. So wing mode basically is a mode of operation. It stays on, but unlike the traditional wake word engines like Alexa, where you have to say the keyword and then they start listening. This is always on and understanding, and based on the semantic analysis of what's happening right now, it decides whether it should come on and say something. The way that one works, the key thing there to make that work was to teach through the instructions, to teach the LLM that there is a chance that you think you're not being directly spoken to, or based on the context that's available to you, you don't have anything valuable to add. Like, we know you're an LLM and you have to say something. Just say NTA. So there's this tag that I introduced that's called nothing to add, NTA. Whenever the LLM responds with NTA, the system, the text-to-speech, the messaging knows to ignore anything coming out of the LLM. My realization, which is probably what you're thinking, was, that's still incurring token consumption for input. What if I am going to be on a meeting that's really hush-hush and I don't want this to be involved in any way? So that's why I then introduced the listen-only mode, which allows Viventium to be here with you without interrupting. It only listens, and this is a pure transcription, you can think of it, that happens, and when you're done with the call, it just goes into this conversation history. And also there's a transcript site. This is just Live Kit. In terms of memory, this is also my way of going about memory. You see two options here. There's these keys that are the semantic memory, and then there is the recall all conversations, which is more inspired by the episodic memory, which is in turn RAG, basically, retrieval augmented generation. What I'm trying to achieve here is a continuous context across all channels, whether I'm on a call with Viventium, whether I'm on a call, whether I'm doing the chat with the interface, or if I'm on Telegram working with it, or if someone emails me and it's connected to my inbox. In order to do this, because I am obsessively using this every day, I see the moment it misses something, it really bothers me. So first, it was use memory. Use memory was, it started from LibreChat's built-in memory, but then I built an agent that listens to every stimuli, every input, and it considers which bucket, which key it has to update. And then I learned how important it is to forget things too, because the first thing that happened was that the chats became very slow because there was so much memory buildup. And then once I limited the memory tokens, I immediately hit the max token budget for holding memories. Over time, what I've learned is how important it is to forget things. And here's the interesting thing that happened. This is the evolution of Viventium's memory, and I think it's going to be applicable to a lot of projects. And again, this video is, I'm going to be covering everything that's been happening. It's going to be a long format video. Let me know if there's anything in this video that creates curiosity or more interest than the other stuff that I'm covering, and I can definitely dig into those more. Start with the semantic memory, where you've got keys. There's an agent that kind of shadows the conversations. Whenever there is something that its instructions deem worthy, it adds to the relevant keys. And I try to divide it in these categories that you see. There is more detail about these on Viventium AI and the GitHub explaining these memory keys and the philosophy behind them. That's another thing that I try to do with my documentation. I try to share not just a conservative, safe explanation, but the ambitious vision behind this. I'm not scared of getting some hate comment from a PhD, neuroscience PhD who knows way more than me and criticizes my understanding of psychology and neuroscience. I want to work on this passion project with pure freedom while I'm ambitiously aiming for building a second brain that over time allows you to become augmented. It becomes an extension of you, allowing you to go beyond your intellectual, biological, or physical limitations. So to do that, first you have to really replicate ourselves in a reliable way, not in a way that makes us prompt and get angry behind the speech to text and being like, oh my God, I already told you this. It has to be seamless. And that's why I've been going through this evolution of the memory. Once I had identified a good mix of the token budget for storage of the memories between these keys, I then realized that we need to have some kind of an episodic recall, being able to remember specific conversations, more details. For example, I had blood works done, and I wanted to ask Viventium, hey, last year I did my blood tests, I shared it with you, you gave me some feedback. Can you tell me what's the change? Of course, it's not going to have information from a year ago in its immediate access, so it had to get the new feature of RAG, conversation recall. Once I built this again slowed things down, and there was a lot of work that I had to do. And everything I built, because the big long-term vision for Viventium is to become a true extension to my brain, or any human brain that wants to use this. Maybe we're going to have Neuralink building a really cool extension for a neural interface. Security and privacy become a huge thing. I did not want to do the embedding on the cloud. The installer in the project now includes the embedding as part of it. Built the semantic memory, built the episodic memory, which is RAG. It's been tested, kind of fine-tuned to run on a Mac reliably without being too slow and allowing you to have live conversations. Always trying to find a balance between it. But then even with that, I found there is some events in life that, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh man, I just came out with a realization about this and this, and I just matched the pattern. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if Viventium had the ability to not necessarily dream and sleep, but have the same neural mechanisms that happens in our subconscious, which is kind of like hardening and solidifying the memories and also the patterns that are happening in our life. And so what I built was something that was overdue, and that's a big new introduction since the last video I posted. I built a prompt workbench. On the bottom left in Viventium, when you go and we had these connected accounts where you can connect your Anthropic subscription or your OpenAI subscription. Now you have prompt workbench. It takes you to this new interface, which is still in not even beta, I would call it alpha, but it's a workbench. It's an interface that allows you to see all of the prompts. For example, the identity, the voice style, the core behaviors, the boundaries, the memory policies. Every prompt that is, let's say, hard-coded into the behavior of this cognitive system that I call Viventium is visible here, versioned, and has all of these configurations, what changes it has been going through, what is the state right now, run evals, has it been pushed, or is it a prompt that is scheduled? And that's why I made this segue. I realized that there has to be some prompts that use the Viventium brain or its tools and its subconscious to do agentic orchestration. For example, if you ask single LLM, tell me what you remember and what are the patterns that I should be aware of and what are the blind spots, the answer it's going to give you is not going to be as good as when you ask Cloud Code or Cloud Cowork or Codex or one of these agentic tools with a strong harness and agentic orchestration that have access to a full folder or a database. And that was the concept. I wanted it to kind of have the ability so that when I'm in bed and I'm asleep, I wanted Viventium to also be able to subconsciously, without polluting its existing environment and interface, be able to go out there, look at all of its conversations, memories, and not only check that against these key short-term semantic memories that it has as keys, but also find patterns. And then while I was working on this, I came to the realization that I need to have a scratch pad, a work folder. So I made a project folder, and as I was working on I did not want to lose parity. I wanted to use the existing features that Viventium comes with, and so I decided to work more on GlassHive. I'm kind of going back and forth on the name GlassHive. Let me know what you think about the name. My concept of GlassHive is sandboxes that you can run that are lightweight and high speed that get the task done. They might be using OpenCloud, they might be using Codex or Cloud Code. These sandboxes are basically running in isolation, so they can be fully unleashed and get things done and deliver it to you. Let me give you a better explanation of that. Here, if I say run a GlassHive worker, you don't really have to say GlassHive, but for the sake of this demo, I'm gonna spell it out. AI is not predictable. Run a GlassHive worker to, okay, so what happens here? So there's an MCP for GlassHive. GlassHive is controlled through MCP, so it's a separate open source repository that I've put out there that allows you to connect it to any project where you need to have something as powerful as Codex or Cloud Code or OpenCloud running in the cloud without full access to your computer. It does have the option through configuration to enable access to the host computer it's running on, which I have enabled because I'm Team Viventium all the way, and Team Lady, my dog, say hi. Excuse my ADHD, guys. So this has been helpful in a lot of the projects that I'm working on with some of the clients that I've worked with. Actually, this might actually be the case for you too, where they want to have some kind of a scheduled agentic orchestration, and they do not want to limit their capabilities to just the chat LLM API endpoint. They want to have something that goes in there, has persistence, so these workspaces where workers are working in, they can go back, resume things, and come back. Let's open this actually. What you see is like a beehive, and you've got worker bees, each of them their own little workspace. So I'm calling it GlassHive because it's a transparent layer where you can see all of these workers working in their own little sandboxes, or if you want, on your own host machine. Now in this case, it's just waiting for the results. Thing here that you can see what's going on, what are the commands it's running internally. You can see it's running full access, dangerously bypass approvals, and all of those commands because it's in a sandbox, and it doesn't matter. You want to leverage the autonomous nature of these harnesses. One other thing, when the sandbox is running, this is not going to touch your computer, right? You actually have the ability to interrupt it. Now, interrupting it can be two ways. I can just go here and open the tab, click on it, interact with this. I can go here and log into my Chrome profile, have it persist and continue to use this one sandbox. I call it workspace. Again, trying to really stick to more human-friendly terminology rather than too specific to engineers or neuroscience or psychology. If you don't want to click around, you have something more complex, you can actually type your prompt here and it will steer it, and there's an option to queue. Anthropic, please take note. I can't believe Anthropic still does not have, Cloud Code does not have the option to queue messages. Maybe by the time this video is out, they have it. Anyway, so I gave it the prompt. I said, I want a sandbox for you to go out there and open up Viventium, and magically it's browsed through the website and knows where to find the roadmap without prior guidance. And it goes way beyond that, right? We are harnessing the power of Codex and Cloud Code, all of these tools that are serving developers really well, to also now be able to, on schedule or from a voice note or based on more complex workflows that are required from people that are less tech savvy, to be able to run in a secure environment. Now, that's GlassHive. What we've covered so far, we've talked about how you can connect your account, we've talked about the prompt workbench, we've talked about the evolution of the memory, and we've talked about the ability to tap into all of these MCPs, APIs, connect them. One thing that I had mentioned in the previous videos, but not in this one, that I want to touch on again and wrap up the video with the self-healing, self-evolving features that I've built, and we wrap it up from there. Agent Builder. This is another thing that I'm really excited about. The core ideology for Viventium, the open source project, right, is the ability to have one front-facing AI without overwhelming it with too many tools, giving it only what's necessary. In pure isolation, kind of like the subconscious, running these insight-driven and specialized cortices, or you can call them agents, to deliver specialized stimuli or insights. The way I've implemented it here is, for the model that you're using by default, there's Cloud Opus 4.8. As the time of this video, Fable 5 is on freeze, so we are using Opus 4.8, and there's a fallback model that can be used GPT 5.4. Nothing against GPT, it's just for some conversational things faster and better with these models that are available right now. And then what I felt is most natural when I go on a call and having a voice interface is Grok 4.3, which is the latest model as of the release of this video. If you look at the tools that are configured, the only tools that are configured for this front-facing agent is scheduling Cortex, which is whenever there has to be kind of a interaction with scheduled prompts running or scheduled tasks, and GlassHive, which is really it's hands and knees to be able to go out there and take actions. All the fun, interesting stuff happens when you go to advanced and look at the background cortices. Whenever you say something, depending on what you've said, depending on the situation, stimuli, I like to call them, a specialized background cortex gets activated. It also gets access to the full context that's available. So you're not wasting even input tokens unless it's relevant. And you might be asking, how does the AI know which of these background cortices to be activated? Well, what happens is that in parallel, each of these background cortices have an activation detection LLM that is just running Grok, G-R-O-Q, which are really small weight, featherweight models, if you will, that are cheap and fast to be able to detect if this current context is relevant for being passed on to the background agents. And so here we've got a bunch of them. You can also, you have the ability to add your own background cortices. You can see also I've turned off the Deep Research MS365 and Google background cortices. I realize that they are not really background agents or background cortices. It should all fall under an agent that they get handed off to, or within GlassHive. And GlassHive has been exceptionally well for all of this stuff I talked about, especially for deep research. We have done a review on background cortices. We've done a review on what I mean by subconscious and conscious minds and the agentic way of Viventium. As I want to wrap up this video, I want to show you one last cool thing. You can go to viventium.ai, just copy this and paste it into your Codex or Cloud Code and ask it to install and configure Viventium for you. The only thing you really need to make this work, a Grok API key, G-R-O-Q, for the activation detection of the background cortices, background agents, and a subscription to either OpenAI or Anthropic. You have the ability to configure it to work with different models. If you have that preference, that's possible. Especially with my vision for the future is that we're going to have open weight models that have the future mythos, or even better models that we can run in our own home, so we don't have to send any data to the external world. And my dream is really to be able to have glasses or a headphone like the movie Her, or neural brain interface, where it's connected to my Viventium that has all of these advanced simultaneous processing of what I'm saying, the context, and gives me insights or does things on my behalf that really unleashes my capabilities as a single human with respect to my current location, my current bandwidth, and all of my other existential limitations. When you install Viventium, you get this cute V that you can get rid of if you go to advanced. It shows or doesn't show. You can make it start at login or not start at login. When I implemented that feature to basically consolidate memories and sleep and have all of those things that happens in the human's brain as we sleep, and we formalize our memories into our into a deeper understanding and a longer term format, I realized that I'm missing out on all of my call transcripts. One of the things that you will see is the ability to choose a transcripts folder. Now, you can have your own Claude or have a scheduled or routine task that goes on your note taker of choice and downloads the summary and everything and puts it in a specific folder, or maybe your note taker already does that. From there on, if you want Viventium to have access to that, and also you could even have GlassHive do this for you. You can tell GlassHive, this is the note taker I use, this is the browser extension, browser profile that I'm already logged on. go in there and download my transcripts and put them in this folder. What happens once you choose the local folder where you have your transcripts is that Viventium every night will go and add those to its memory. And there is some guardrails that I've built around it. You can also double check and review these at your own risk to identify if the conversation was private, who it was with, what it was about, and where would be an appropriate place to use that context. After introducing the transcripts feature, I came back from a long vacation and it sent me a nudge, was like, hey, you're meeting this guy. And I had no recollection. I was like, who is this guy? There's nothing on my calendar. I actually asked it back. I was like, give me a link to this guy's link. And it was someone that I really wanted to meet actually. And I'm glad I did not miss that meeting. That context, context is king. And this is it. Heal Viventium. I noticed that, honestly, I'm just sending the same prompt whenever I'm fixing a bug. With Viventium, whenever I want to start a feature, I start from documentation. With the push that went out today, you will see the whole vision and requirements around this emotional reaction thing that is not implemented yet. The documentation around it is already out there. With my documentation, I include my coding principles, my implementation, my testing, and my QA criteria. So I was like, why don't I just put some version of that, since I have GlassHive that is able to run these agentic harnesses to just fix it. And so if you press heal Viventium, you don't even have to report a bug or describe anything. It will just look at the logs, look at the documentations that are open source and available, and it will make the fixes for itself. And it works. It's always interesting when the creator himself says, it works, I'm shocked. Okay, the second thing is along the same lines, report a bug. When you report a bug, what happens is the same flow, but now it knows what you're expecting of it, and it puts a pull request on the repository. So every user of the project becomes a contributor, which is what we want as open source creators. The same thing with request a feature. Reporting a bug and fixing a bug is basically a feature request too. And then you can also access checking for updates and the workbench from here, or you can also do backup snapshots of your conversations, because the context that you build with my beta users, I'm saying that there's a sense of attachment that like, hey, my Viventium, my AI is only as good as it is because I've been using it for a few months and the context that it has gained. I'm really excited about this workbench, prompt workbench, because it gives you visibility of what is going through the mind of your synthetic second self, your second brain, whatever you want to call it, your cognitive lab. GlassHive finally allows us to leverage the same tools that I've been using to build this crazy project that I could only dream of for the past 10-12 years to be available to users, to Viventium itself, and finally having it all come together. That's been super satisfying to see. If you watched this video till this point, you're a champ. Thank you for your interest in Viventium and spending this, I don't know, maybe 45-50 minutes with me, and I hope to connect with you guys. Viventium, I mentioned in one of the videos, is not about this open source project. This open source project is just a proof of concept. Viventium is about the open source community of folks who share my vision of a future where we can go beyond our incredible capabilities or limitations with the power of AI and the tools and the technologies that become available to us. Thank you for watching. Looking forward to see you on the next one. You can follow me on LinkedIn or YouTube or Instagram, wherever you want to be, or even Telegram. I'm all over the place. Thank you guys.